When we picture the future in science fiction, we usually imagine the same towering nightmare: megacities choked with smog, blinding neon billboards, collapsing ecosystems, and massive divides between the ultra-rich and the desperate poor. The 2050 setting of the film Sidereus throws all of that out the window. Humanity has completely abandoned the cities. Instead, the global population lives as nomads, roaming across a pristine, rewilded planet. Yet this wilderness relies on an infrastructure so advanced that it operates completely silently, runs absolutely cleanly, and stays completely invisible in the background of daily life. Finding the machines that maintain this world requires looking beyond the horizon, past the clouds, and eventually into the atoms of the people themselves. This is a Dyson swarm. This sheer glowing ring is made of 1 trillion solar panels orbiting both the Earth and the Sun to run the entire planetary AI and computational network. If you stand in the middle of a forest, the landscape is pristine. You will not find a single concrete power plant, high-voltage tower, or asphalt road cutting through the mountains. Instead, citizens live a nomadic lifestyle, drifting across rewilded continents in floating aerodynamic houses. They consume vast amounts of power, entirely disconnected from the grid. Sustaining this level of abundance required humanity to abandon the idea of distributing electricity over long distances. We had to figure out how to generate immense power exactly where it was needed, entirely on site. To manage heavy industrial demands, the centralized grid shatters into independent generation points. ASI engineers miniaturized fusion reactors down to the size of a commercial truck. These high-yield engines sit adjacent to data centers, outputting gigawatts of power directly without a single outbound wire. But a flying house doesn't need a gigawatt of power, and you can't exactly fit a truck-sized reactor into your living room to keep your personal domestic Android charged. For the individual citizen, ASI developed low-energy nuclear reactions, or LENR. This is a silent, low-yield fusion process calibrated for close-quarters domestic use. The efficiency of LENR is so extreme that a reactor capable of keeping a nomadic home in the air indefinitely is roughly the size of a standard pencil. By matching the exact physical size of the reactor directly to the energy load it serves, the necessity of transporting electricity across physical space vanishes. There is an inherent risk in total isolation. If a local fusion drive requires maintenance or fails, you have no neighboring power plant to fall back on. You need an independent failsafe. We kept legacy solar arrays, but we changed their purpose. Massive fields of hyper-efficient solar panels sitting in arid, unwilded deserts no longer carry the base load of human society. They serve as a redundant planetary-scale backup system. Above the atmosphere, we built a Dyson swarm. This is a band of 1 trillion solar panels orbiting both the Earth and the Sun, capturing raw solar radiation to feed the immense processing requirements of global quantum computing networks. Back on the ground, all of the remaining permanent architectural structures are enveloped entirely in fully synthetic artificial leaves. The modern energy ecosystem is no longer extractive, it is cyclical. The exact same infrastructure used to keep the lights on actively scrubs the atmosphere and restores the biosphere. Truck-sized industrial fusion, pencil-sized domestic LENR, massive solar backups, and carbon-eating architecture operate as a single synchronized ecosystem. Dismantling the physical infrastructure of the old world severed the geographic tethers that once forced citizens into centralized cities and localized labor. The elimination of the grid stabilized the climate and turned the necessity of the commute into a historical curiosity. Severing the physical wires that bound us to the Earth transformed our dwellings into independent vessels. Material scarcity is the next domino to fall. Swarms of drones and nanorobots intercept space rocks, dismantle them, and bring an endless supply of rare metals directly into orbit. Resources are so abundant that even gold is commonplace. Managing this massive influx requires an invisible digital backbone. By 2050, public administration operates entirely on a state-level blockchain, laying the foundation for Web 3.0. As you can see on this diagram, these nodes represent historical facts, scientific data points, and policy decisions locking together. It creates a technologically guaranteed, shared truth that no single entity can alter. When energy is infinite, materials are abundant, and the history of every transaction is unchangeable, the primary drivers of historical warfare, resource scarcity and disputed claims, lose their utility. Down on the surface, that infinite orbital energy is put to work by artificial superintelligence, using their vast computational power to aggressively heal the Earth's ecosystem. This cross-section shows how heavily engineered that natural environment really is. These leaves wrap around buildings everywhere, acting as dual-purpose solar panels. As a photon hits this leaf, it pulls carbon dioxide inward and outputs an electrical charge. Excess energy compresses the CO2, piping it deep underground to lock it permanently into secure bedrock layers. With the climate stabilized and the environment acting as a massive power grid, human habitation becomes completely untethered. People live in self-driving, aerodynamic flying houses powered by miniaturized, silent nuclear reactors, allowing citizens to roam the Earth freely. The AI's relentless curation of the environment removes the burden of surviving extreme weather and geographic borders. The entire planet transforms into a safe, boundless playground for a nomadic society. If we look closely at the individuals living in these flying houses, you'll notice an absence of hardware. There are no smartphones, there are no tablets, and zero physical screens. Handheld devices have been replaced by neural augmented reality vision. This tech integrates complex, interactive data layers directly into the human optic nerve, overlaying the digital world onto the physical one without a single headset. The anchor for this ability is a photonic neural chip implanted in every person. It links the human mind directly to the AI, granting instant translation, telepathy, and enhanced intelligence. Because it uses photons instead of electricity, it releases light instead of heat, leaving the user's eyes glowing with a soft, pulsing light when active. Beneath the skin, quadrillions of nanobots constantly patrol the human bloodstream. They recycle waste, decompose microplastics, repair bone tissue, and regenerate cells around the clock. This internal integration achieves longevity escape velocity. Biological aging stops entirely, and disease is eradicated. For the humans of 2050, physical death is a purely optional choice rather than an inevitability. In this 2050, the result of 1 trillion solar panels and quadrillions of nanobots isn't a world of cold metal, but a world restored to its original state. Technology has simply become the background radiation of human existence. What does a species actually do when all physical needs are met, survival threats are eliminated, and the aging process is a thing of the past? By leveraging the same quantum computational power that drives the Dyson swarm through their neural chips, the human mind gains a new capability: space folding. As the diagram illustrates, a disciplined mind can physically warp 2 distant points in the cosmos until they touch, instantly projecting their physical presence anywhere in the universe. But look at what happens to the connection under stress. Space folding is highly susceptible to the user's mental state. Jagged emotional interference will violently snap the connection apart. This is why the dark, psychic influence of the dark hools successfully suppresses this ability in the general population. At the climax of the story, the defeat of the dark hools clears that emotional interference, allowing the entire human race to access space folding universally.